make all the things on my computer that are beeping stop beeping at me as well. All the things on my computer.
So I'm wondering what's the weather look like down there?
We'll have to ask Avud. I'm actually in Champaign, Illinois.
Oh, is that right?
Not too far from you, from Delaware, but in the in the same country. But it's currently very cold and actually raining here. What's it like there in Delaware?
We have a beautiful day today. It's about 55 degrees with a lot of sunshine.
Oh, that's nice. You're making me jealous.
Oh.
You can, I don't know if you can see here, it's currently 2:04 in the afternoon and it's quite dark outside. We'll have to ask Avud what
Bill,
it's like.
where are you now?
Bill?
Bill?
Oh, I'm in Champaign as well. So
okay.
Samson's in the research park at the university, and I'm in my office at the university of Illinois.
Okay. So Davud is only one in Auckland, huh?
Yes. Is it lovely? Is it lovely weather there, Davud? We were just wondering.
Yes, still there are some participants, they are collecting their names. So we may wait a couple of more minutes.
Okay, no problems. I might quickly run and get a glass of water if you don't mind.
That's fine.
Me too.
Yeah. Have you got your coffee, everyone? Yeah. Right? So you just show your name. Yes. First, hello.
Davud, I'm not sure if you can hear us. Are we able to begin? We might have lost him.
Oh. We're supposed to start 3:15, right?
But we have a short welcome beforehand that we were supposed to have started. Just waiting for him to come back.
Okay.
Let's get started now. I'll pass over to
to
Dr. Bill Cope, who can say a few words of welcome to begin.
Sure.
Bill, you want to go ahead?
Yes, I'll go ahead. Thank you very much, Tamsin. So welcome, everybody. My name is Bill Cope, and when I say welcome, I'm welcoming to some people who are live in the room there in New Zealand. I'm saying welcome to people who are live on YouTube, but also I'm saying welcome to all the people who will be watching this recording later on. So we've been working ever since COVID came along on this model of a blended conference. Just to give you a sense of the scale of the conference, we have about pretty close to 100 participants in all. We've got some there in New Zealand, we've got some who are online, we have some in English, and we have some in a Spanish language strand as well. So welcome to everybody. And I just want to firstly say a little bit about the history of the conference. In fact, this conference got renamed, and the predecessor conference, which was called Communication and Culture in the Workplace, we ran for the first time 30 years ago. It's hard to believe now, in Sydney, Australia, which is where it all began. I now work at the University of Illinois, which you might notice that I have an accent which is not too different from a New Zealand accent. I have an Australian accent. And that's where the conference began in 1993. So, and since then, we've been to some wonderful locations and we've interacted with some wonderful people. We've been in, just trying to think of recent years. We had one fantastic conference at the University of Greenwich in London. We had another conference a couple of years ago at the University of Constance. And the first conference outside of Australia was actually in Penang in Malaysia. So it's a conference which moves all over the world. And next year, Tamsin, I believe it's going to be in Lisbon in Portugal next year. So we hope you all come along to that as well. So anyhow, welcome, great to be here. One thing I'd like to say is that as a blended conference, this session's recorded, and as many as possible of the in-person participants, we've asked them to record their sessions in advance as well. And we've, please, even if you're in person, please go to the website and interact there. You can make comments, discuss the paper, and each time you do, it triggers an email to the presenter or other people who you're talking to in the conversation. So please do that, because one of the constraints of an in-person conference is there isn't much time for questions. Only one or two people can speak at the end of a session, but we've got a completely open environment here for as much conversation as you like. So one of my little pleas that I make to everybody at these conferences is go to the recorded version of the session and don't leave without leaving a comment, because it's the dialogue which is important. So look, I want to thank you all for being here. I particularly want to thank our host, who's Professor Dawood Ashkarani in New Zealand. I want to thank you very, very much for being the conference host this year. And I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody here, and good afternoon and good day, everybody all over the world, including USA. My name is Dawood. I am chair of this conference. And this is the second time we are hosting this conference. The previous one was in 2021, when we had COVID restriction. We had to do it entirely online. And we are happy this time we have been able to get at least some of you here in person, but as majority of the participants are online. And thank to everybody, all of you joining here as a presenter, as a participant, and a special thanks to two distinguished keynote speaker, Professor Charles de Villiers from our university. He's sitting in the back now. He's presenting this afternoon, and also Professor Youngsik Kwak from Delaware University, who is going to talk now after I finish. And a special thanks to organization studies team, especially Tasmin, which we have been in contact for many years now, and also Auckland Event Service, especially Lee, who is organizing, putting sign everything here, and also Auckland Convention Bureau advertising this conference on their website for all government and different agency and so on, and also tourism. New Zealand also supporting this conference. So before we start, a few points about housekeeping. As you can see, we have bathroom just when you leave the door. The bathroom for ladies and gentlemen are here, and also end of the building here. And when you go up, next to the reception, we also have bathroom and super for coffee. And coffee break and lunch, we have them in Super Fino, which is on level 1 when you enter the door. And you just show your name and they give you coffee and sandwich for lunch. And in terms of emergency, if there is an emergency, you hear sirens here, we just follow me. We leave the building. There are 2 gathering points, one in front of the main door, which you came, and the other one is on the back side in front of Fisher and Paykel building. So that's all. I just welcome Professor Kwak to keynote speaker. Thank you, Kwak, for accepting this keynote speech, and I leave it to you.
Okay.
Professor Kwak, you have to share your screen again. It seems we might have lost connection there, just so you know.
Sure. Okay, so here's my screen. Can you see now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. May I start? Okay. Okay. Hello to our conference participants. My name is Youngsik Kwak, and I am in a Delaware State University here in the US. So I know that you have a morning time in Auckland and New Zealand. So good morning to those who are attending in person, and everybody else. Maybe good day. Good day to everyone else on the participating virtually. So I would like to talk a little bit about managing or culture change that I have experienced in my academic career here at the Delaware State University. And I'm going to use the framework from the John Carter's Leading Change book and anchoring new changes in the organizational culture. So probably this is one of the biggest cultural change that I have experienced again, because my institution used to be a very small college, and we have a teaching focused institution. But we have transformed the culture from the teaching focused to more research focused. And this happened because we wanted to go toward the AACSB accreditation for the College of Business. So back then, when AACSB opened its door to a small size and the medium-sized institutions around the world, they have changed their framework. What we called back then is mission-focused. Before then, AACSB was a good old boys maybe meeting, but they opened the door again to a lot of schools, and that was a good time for us to consider seriously earning this prestigious AACSB accreditation for the College of Business. So let me, excuse me. Let me begin with what is culture. And yes, it refers to the norms of the behavior and shared values among a group of people. So like I briefly mentioned, as a teaching institution, teaching was a very highly focused and valued. But in terms of research expectations, there was just a minimal research expectations. When I say minimal, for example, when we apply for the tenure of this institution, at least just one publication was expected. So basically, you know, research was very few when we first, you know, started. So culture matters and it can influence our behavior. So faculty's behavior definitely changed after the culture change. In other words, due to the AACSB mandate, we were expected to do more research and the grant activities, and it can be difficult to change because most senior faculty before the change, of course, objected the change. So how we made it? Okay, so I will just, you know, go over this, you know, 5 key things when it comes to the anchoring change in a culture. And the first comes last, not first. And second one depends on results and requires a lot of torque and may involve turnovers, yes. And make decisions on a succession plan is very crucial. So the first point is culture change comes last, not first. So the result is now our faculty buy in these research expectations and that they produce this research and the grant activities because they will be evaluated every year in terms of teaching and also research and the service. And for our AACSB mandate again, now we are expected to produce at least 3 research papers in a referred journals for maintaining our academic qualifications. So, I mean, it took quite a while, but now again, everybody knows that, you know, we will do the research and we need to produce to get a tenure in our institution. Now, independent results. So during our journey to earning the AACSB accreditation, we got small wins along the way. And those small wins may include, for example, when we started this journey, we needed to secure some resources. So our admin team went out there and talked to the corporations. And fortunately, we were able to garner some support from local corporations. And one of the significant one was we got a $3 million grant from the MBNA bank. And that $3 million was exclusively devoted to supporting, you know, this AACSB accreditation activities. So with that grant, we were able to support faculty travel to the conferences, and also we were able to give some research grant to our faculty, and also we used some of the fund to hire adjuncts because we got like a 1 course download due to the, you know, increased research expectations. So those are small wins along the way also helped our constituents, especially faculty members, to get buy-in to this culture change. Now, also this culture change requires a lot of talk. So during our about 3-year journey, we had a lot of meetings, discussions among stakeholders, and especially for the faculty groups, we divided our faculty into like 5 different subgroups: steering committee, faculty committee, student committee, and also assurance of learning committee and the curriculum committee. So we were able to involve all the faculty members in this process, and we came together. In other words, we first started with strategic planning, which was again 3-year journey to earn AACS accreditation. So each subgroup had a lot of objectives and the goals and the strategies to achieve it. And looking back, yes, we meet about every 2 weeks, and we made an improvement, and we checked our goals met on time, and it was a long journey. But I mean, looking back again, probably that communications or a lot of this, meetings and the talks probably helped us to achieve this AACS accreditation. And I mean, it is obvious that, not all of the participants bought this in. In other words, there are some turnovers, and yes, we had some resistance, especially among some senior faculty members. So those who are not on board, they either resign or retire as we go along. Because from the faculty group, we came up with one like a big book, which discusses the requirements when it comes to the research, teaching, and the service. And look, probably they didn't have energy or skills, or they don't want to just do it. So some faculty left, and of course we also had a replacement faculty. And when we hire the new faculty members, we want to make sure that we put more focus on their research activities and outputs. And succession plan is crucial. Yes, we don't want to let up the process. So yes, there has been a change, but now it is the top priority for the incoming faculty and the administration, including dean, chairs, and directors, that we all know that we will keep this AACS accreditation as we move along, because we achieved this level of excellence, and we don't want to go back, and we just want to keep improving in terms of what we are doing, teaching, research, service, grant, and we all this for student success. And this is one comic says, now 2 questions, who wants to change? Everybody agreed. But now when second question comes, who wants to change, then probably, this is a tough, because change begins with me, not with anybody else. When there is a culture change, everybody should on board, and I have to change first in order to be a good, contributing faculty member. After then what's the reward? Then everybody is a hero for the success that we have achieved. So I guess that will conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. So now what I'd like to do is open it up for any questions. So what I'm going to do is just make it so that we can see everyone here. Davud, if there's anyone who has any questions in the room, they're more than welcome to come up to where you're standing and ask that question.
Okay, I just
or the computer, or you could turn it around.
the people here.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Or you could, so they're welcome to come up.
Do we have any question in the room?
If you have
would you like to come here? I have another portable mic here. I'm not sure if it's
I think if they just come up there, that might be the easiest.
Yeah.
If you have any questions and you're in the Zoom, please feel free to just write your name or the question in the chat and we can call on you there. Hi. If you want to introduce yourself before you ask the question, that's nice too.
Yes, of course. My name is Kalin Gourou. I'm from Montpellier Business School in France. And I want to say from the beginning that we also have the triple accreditation. So we also passed through this process. I was even part of the team who started the process of ACSB accreditation. We had a lot of problems and a lot of resistance. I want to ask the question I want to ask, because there are two questions. The first question is that you said that there were a lot of meetings at the beginning. Did you try in these meetings to discuss the idea of do we need to go for ACSB or not? Or this was decided at the top level and then like you discuss only the details of how to apply? Because in our case, this was the case and it wasn't nice because, I mean, we have the idea that it's a good thing. Well, good things are relative in life, right? And then second, you said that basically, I mean, the general presentation is that now we have the accreditation, let's get more accreditations. But I know example of institutions, top level institutions, who in fact stopped the process of accreditations for several reasons, because they don't have enough freedom, because they become standardized, they become an elite school, but a standardized elite school. So what are your thoughts about these two elements? Thank you.
I see. Okay, thank you. For the first question, I may say that yes, we wanted to approach this from the bottom up instead of top down, because by doing bottom up approach, we know that we will have a better result. So before we get into the AACSB process, we went over to we as a practice, we went through the ACBSB accreditation. And that accreditation is a lot different from AACSB because ACBSB back then, the focus was just assurance of learning. And we were able to, easily do that about an year. So by doing so, we have kind of, sensed what would we take to get into the next level, which was the AACSB. So then from there, we just, came up with the idea of these 5 subgroups, which involved all the faculty members. And the faculty members, they need to, work in a subgroup, which will come to the, now to the strategic planning committee, and we all involved as a stakeholders. And we came up with the idea of, authoring like a faculty handbook, which shows, this is the expectations, or this is the process for us to, for especially faculty to meet their research requirements. And for the second question, yes, once we achieved AACSB accreditation, we used that brand to expand our program into the outside. And one good example is that due to this accreditation that we have, we were able to expand our program into China and also to Jamaica and to Korea. So, I mean, it was a great because without this AACSB accreditation, we wouldn't have done it. For example, we have again, China, we have about, 300 students at any given time due to this AACSB accreditation. And it is a big boost to our College of Business enrollment because we are like a small school and the 300 students, that's a big, big increase to our enrollment figures. And this joint program, retention rate is almost 100%. So it boosts, our ratios as well. So, I mean, we don't want to, stop doing this because with this brand name again, with this excellence level that we have achieved, we want to keep, improving ourselves in terms of enrollment increase, and also, let's say, make a like a bigger contribution to the society.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other question?
Are there any questions in the room or any questions here on the room or the Zoom room?
Come here. We have one more question.
Thank you.
So I see in the chat, there are 4 questions. Thompson, if you are checking, you can also read if there is a question.
Maybe I can't see it in the chat. 1 second, just in case I've missed it.
While you are reading, I will, we have a question here.
Hello, I'm Robert Don Moyer from the University of San Diego.
Hi
to my friend, the Walkie event last night, which, by the way, organizers was a very nicely done event. So it was money well spent. Mike, I'm going to ask you to use, our speaker to use his imagination and talk about what somebody who either retired earlier than they planned or left the institution, how they would describe what happened. And ideally think about somebody who wasn't bitter necessarily, but somebody who was thoughtful and had some interesting things to say. And then the second half was, what did students say? And would the students today, to answer that question, would you have to think of different students today than you would have thought of at the time of the change? So.
Okay. I mean, if I put myself into the senior faculty members that were not able to, get on the bus, yes, maybe they may not have a good feelings about this change. But when we first started, I mean, we could see the benefits. We could see the benefits coming, from this accreditation. But if I have if I worked here at this institution almost about 30 years, and now the administration and all the teams expect me to do some research, which I have not done so since I joined this institution. So probably, I may think, about other options would be better for me because it may be too late for me to develop, this research skills to meet the research requirement or publication requirements. And back then again, if I don't feel comfortable about this change, I mean, that's a fact of life that, I may look for, another job opportunities because this institution is changing and I am not a good fit to this particular, change or the institution. And for the second question, back then, students, yes, I see the difference. And back then again, probably students, in my view, were more engaged and that they were eager to learn more, and that they had more discipline compared to those students now. But I mean, we emphasize that we are AACSB accredited college of business, and we tell them, we inform them that we strive for excellence because that's the brand name that we have in terms of, program quality or school quality.
If I could just comment that the reason I asked the question was, I think that there's a tendency to write off people who object to change without listening to what their reasons are. And I think you kind of sort of did that, saying it didn't fit their personal career paths or their skill set. And all of that might be true, but my experience has been that there also are sometimes legitimate reasons that people object to change. I've spent over 20 years in 2 institutions in my country. One was a major research institution. The other was more of a teaching institution that's transitioning more into a research-oriented institution, but it's a slow transition. And I would say that there's advantages and disadvantages to both kinds of institutions. I always tell people in my country who are looking for a school to send their children to as undergraduates, I said, beware of the ratings. The ratings are based on faculty research and doctoral programs, and usually, at least in my experience, there's an inverse relationship between being good at those things and attending to teaching. So I think it's always important for us when we're dealing with change to not cavalierly write off people who are in opposition. Yes, they may be in opposition for very self-centered reasons. They don't have the skill set. It's too late for them to develop. All of that may be true, but there may also be some things that they're worried about losing that are at least worth attending to. So that's why I asked the question. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, your points are very well taken, but we have like a couple of examples that, those senior faculty members, they wanted to stay and they wanted to do some more research. So we help them. To go to the conferences more often and get updated, on the research activities, and especially, one business law faculty members. After the 3 or 4 years, he was able to meet research expectations. So I guess the bottom line is people make their choices. So if there is a change coming, then there are some people who want to ride on the bus, whereas other people, they may just look for another opportunity. But your points are very well taken.
Thank you.
I think our online participants are feeling a little shy today. So if we have any other questions in the room, they're more than welcome at this stage.
Yes, we have.
Thank you very much. I'm not from the organizational world. I'm a GP. I'm retired now, and I'm working in health system redesign. One of the things that I just heard at a conference is that in Denmark, the medical colleges or the medical practices have given up on accreditation because it showed it didn't make any difference to the performance of the practices. I just wonder whether accreditation is really what drives the development of a school, or whether it's really much more about conveying a sense of this is what we are standing for, this is what we want to achieve, and it's not the accreditation that achieves what you have achieved, but by aligning the mindsets of those in your faculty towards the goals that you set out, and people that naturally say this is for me or this is not for me.
Yes, I know that accreditation do have some values, but not absolutely. I know that now there are some movement which resist the rankings, especially for the medical school or law schools, or even for the business schools. But I mean, for small institutions like us, I mean, we needed something to market, to grow our college. So back then, you know, we agreed that this accreditation will give us more opportunities to get more resources and more, you know, support from the corporate world, and also expand our program to the outside the U.S. So we had some advantages, while we had some, you know, like a growth opportunities that we had in mind when we pursued this accreditation, because this is a kind of, you know, let me say quality matters, something like that. But itself, accreditation itself may not be like an absolute, you know, value. Yes.
Any other question? You know? Yes.
And also, this accreditation is not cheap. In other words, from the institution's point of view, or from the top administration, I mean, this is a expensive, you know, process, because they have to, you know, give every faculty one course download. And also, when we hire new faculty members, they expect, you know, higher pay due to this AACSB accredited schools, because usually these accreditation institutions, they offer like a market salary. So when we get a new faculty members, they have to offer a lot higher, you know, salary than before.
Any question? We still have time. Yeah, I know that there are some issues with ranking, but if we don't have such a ranking, how you can prioritize, how you can say which university is better than other university and so on, same as journal rankings. So we need to have something. I know that everything has got plus and minus, but we need to think about the replacement. Yes, there are some problems, but if you don't have the business school, medical school, how you are going to rank in terms of allocating fund, in terms of, you know, tuition fee, how you can market? Is any replacement, is any alternative? Yeah, from you or from everybody in the room or online? Any? Yes, please.
Well, in my opinion, really, it's a tool. I mean, the ranking is a tool, and it's mostly used as a marketing tool, which is the reality. Now, if you take the opposite view, because you also said there are many people who said this, knowledge institution has its own profile. It should be rooted in its own community as well, and its own objectives. So basically, it's very difficult in reality to compare one institution, especially an institution like a college, to another. They're all unique. They should be unique because they have to attend to the needs of the community they serve, and there is place for everybody, more or less. Now, what can I say is that we live in a world which is competitive, which is based on ranking. So I don't think that we can eliminate this. What we have to be careful about is that there are schools or universities which are not necessarily becoming better because of the accreditations. They become better to get the accreditations. So they don't change the culture, just they add a department, which is very good expert in reading exactly what they have to write down in the report. So they do some cosmetic changes, they write a nice report, and when the team of accreditors comes, it's just for 2 days and a half. I mean, they are tired, they already traveled, you give them some good wine and some good food. They are really tired, so they just read the report, they speak with a few people, and usually, if you're part of the club, you get the accreditation, you pay the money. So it's a marketing game, basically. And even the accreditation body doesn't have any incentive to eliminate too many of the club because they don't have the money. They don't have the profit, the revenues. So you have to look also at these vicious circles that can develop and to find ways to eliminate them or at least to be conscious that they can appear.
Mm. So I put it more succinctly, measure what matters. So that's really, in terms of universities, it would be what are the qualities of the graduates when they come out, how are they received by their first-time employers. That is what universities should focus on. I will make that comment a little later in my book. I think most institutions don't know what their purpose is, and therefore they measure something, but it's not related to the purpose. But if you don't know what your purpose is, you can't define the measures that matter.
Could I make a comment?
Yes, sure.
I'm from Canada and I work at a community college. So in my experience, community college should serve the community. And so I don't understand how you can get money like from the corporation. It doesn't make sense because education for me shouldn't be a money-making enterprise. It should be funded by government, by community. And I also think all this research jeopardizes teaching the quality of teaching. Thank you.
Young, any comment on that? I'm not sure if you heard.
I was not able to hear clearly.
Okay.
What was the comment?
Would you mind going up and saying it so you can be?
Yeah.
Or our chair could repeat it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. They were good comments.
Definitely, you might have to annotate that for us.
If I can remember it, because I'm so tired. Sorry, I'm from Vancouver, Canada, and my name is Helga. I teach at a community college. So maybe funding is different in other countries, but as a community college, we want to focus on students, and education should not be a money-making enterprise. And I think all this research, yes, it's great, but don't we jeopardize teaching? Real teaching, and that is why I've been a teacher for 30 years, is teaching. Yes, doing some research is important, but isn't teaching what matters? I forget what else I said. Yeah, and the whole idea of a bank funding your university, I think, is scary. It shouldn't be that a bank or a corporation is funding education. It should be your community funding education, because education should be open to everyone, not just the rich. And I think that's what the problem with ranking is. It's becoming only for rich. And also this whole thing of having international students fund your college is also, I think, not right. I think that was it. Anyway, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Yes, of course. I said, we make a transition from more teaching focused to the more research focused. Maybe that was a little bit of misleading because we still value teaching. In other words, in terms of percentage, I mean, teaching is the number one priority in our institution still. But before the change, maybe research was about 10 or 15% out of 100%, and now research is about 35%. But teaching is still number one priority, yes, in our institution, and we kind of raised our expectation for the research, because if we are an academician or academic institution, there gotta be some kind of knowledge creation. I mean, as things change, we have to keep up with industry, which is like for a college of business, there's corporation. And corporations are not strangers to us. They are one of our stakeholders as well, because they are taking our graduates as their employees. So definitely, this corporation, I mean, in my opinion, there has to be some, collaboration or cooperation between these academic institutions and the corporations as well, because anyway, we are providing, their human resource needs. I mean, they come to the campus, right? Why they want to come to the campus? Because they wanna hire the brightest, and they wanna hire, the best. And also in terms of expanding programs to the international arena, I think that's the trend, that may keep continuing, because looks to me that our high school grads and who are ready to come to the university, I mean, the numbers are going down. And given some those numbers, maybe one way to grow our enrollment is to go to the international students. I mean, that's my opinion.
Thank you very much. Any other question?
So my comment is, why are your numbers going down? Is it affordability for typical students, typical American student to be not to be able to afford to go to school?
Did you hear, Young? Why your
no.
number is going down?
Huh?
Why your number is going down? Based on what you said.
No, I didn't say our number is going down. In terms of total population, in the US, high school number of high school graduates are going down.
Okay.
Not in our institution. No, we are going up. Yes.
Okay, no more questions. I'm not sure about USA and other countries in terms of ranking, but in New Zealand, we have very complicated process. We call it BBRF, which is repeated every 6-7 years, and we spend a lot of time and money. Everyone has to produce a profile in terms of research, in terms of other activity, teaching, and so on. There are a number of different panels. So we spend, actually, based on my own experience, I have been here for 19 years, so I have gone through a number of these. So the year we are preparing for PBRF, the amount of time I spend on that is more than my teaching for the year.
Mm.
And of course, we are number one in New Zealand, but I'm not sure if it's worth it to spend that much time. Of course, university based on PBRF get some money allocated fund from government. And also, not only because of PBRF, because of world ranking, we know some other university have about 7-9 university in Auckland. And I hear every week, in AUT, for example, before Christmas, they fired up to 200 staff, and they are firing more the number of students going down because of the COVID restriction, but we haven't had such a problem. Actually, the course I am teaching, a big course, 2-to-1, last year I had 100 students more than the year before. I know because of something is because of the reputation. So otherwise, AUT and Auckland University are in same city, but we get more students. But overall, I'm still not sure, even if we don't do the PBRF because of the world ranking, still Auckland is top, it's the country. We don't do PBRF, still ranking, PBRF is one, but there are some like journal, we have different classification like A, B, D, C in Australia, and then we have Scopus and a number of other assessment process, same with ranking for universities. So do you have something like that, like PBRF in USA? To spend time for preparation?
Not quite.
What about Canada? Canada, you have? Okay.
Same in Australia. But to me, this is the debate. Germans is a classical example where they have an so-called citation factor, but no impact factor.
Yeah.
And I never can publish in higher level medical journals because as a GP you don't get in, simple as that. My impact from what I've written is really high. If you look at who cites my stuff, who refers to it, who invites them to come and speak. So the relationship is not there. And it has to do with the fact that we don't know what we value. And I think this is an really important debate to have. To focus more on getting rankings right and doing more accreditation and stuff. It's just bypassing the real issue. And no one wants to address the elephant in the room when it comes to policy matters.
And part of the problem in terms of measurement is one of the criteria is frequently those things that are easiest to measure. And impact, if we really are serious, if impact needs more than citations in journals, it's a pretty difficult thing to measure. And so sometimes that gets passed over. But I agree with what you were saying.
Yes.
I think also we need to have a conversation about what is the function of a university. And I think we're losing sight of that. In New Zealand, we are charged by law to be the conscience and critic of society. And I think we need to deal with our relationship with the business community with a degree of caution so that we retain that ability to critique those things that are deleterious to the progress of our society. And I think in business schools, we are losing that ability to be the conscience and critic of our business community because we're so embedded with the need for finance or for approval or for ratings or whatever. But these don't help us understand the purpose of the university and society in the 21st century.
Yeah.
And I have a comment. I think traditionally, universities or colleges, they were ranked long time ago, but they were ranked to the people they had. So they had somebody who was teaching a great course, the room was full, and students were coming to the college to listen to this person. And it's not only the impact of knowledge, sometimes it's the role model, how you behave, how you speak. And we lost this. We lost this a lot. And we are going to lose even more by teaching online. So I think we have to be careful about this because again, we are making the job poorer from the point of view of the real impact, but of course it's easier to measure it now in terms of, I don't know, how many publications, how many, but this is just quantitative stuff. The qualitative stuff, we are losing it all the way, unfortunately.
But your assessment here isn't a biased one if you want to just look at the people who are you involved with? What about the outsiders? It's also important how they look at you. Of course, when you are dealing with a number of people, your own staff, they may say good thing, but what about the outsiders?
What I mean, do we ask? That's the question. We don't normally do not ask the outsiders what they think, and therefore one of the real important feedbacks into the system is missing. We are so self-centered in terms of the simple things to measure. I think there's a distinction to be made between outputs and outcomes, and then what matters. That's the value proposition. And we stop usually at outputs. Occasionally we go to outcomes, but the value proposition, does it actually meet what we set out to do, is completely skimmed over. And that's a feedback that comes from the end user, in whether it's a business or in university or in healthcare or other. It's in the end, if the patient says you are fit, then you are fit. And even if you have done everything according to the book and everything has gone well, you can have the perfect operation and still the most unhappy patient. You can have a failed operation and a happy patient. So you need to be able to explain that and explore that and learn from that in terms how to do things more right, but more importantly, to always do the right thing.
I have just an interesting example that I know a colleague which had a course which was very popular. It was a 45-hour course. And because of the accreditation requirement, they reduced his course to 24 hours. And students are unhappy, he's unhappy, the value he's delivering, it's lower, but the school is in the accreditation standards. So is it a progress or a regress? Finally.
I think to summarize what we discussed so far, to cover all aspects, the question is, yes, we need assessment. The question is, what are the KPI, key performance indicators we have to consider? Of course, as Young mentioned, we need to have relationship with businesses, with the actual activity in the world, to not separate ourselves, see what they need, we teach. So we need to be involved with the real world. And that means that research is important, not only teaching. Then in terms of teaching also a skill, so we need to have a number of KPI, key performance indicators, which include teaching, research, and other things. The next question is how many, and then what is the weighting? Are you giving the same weight for teaching as research, or 30% teaching or 40% research, and so on? These are something we can think about it. Of course, we cannot eliminate each one. We have to consider teaching, research, everything. But the question is, what are the key KPI which are reflecting the ability, capability in terms of teaching, in terms of research? How many KPI we should have, and what are the weighting? Do we give them equal weight, or some are more important? That's something to think about it. Any idea? We have a few more minutes. Yes, please.
Well, my opinion is very simple. If you have more than 5 KPIs in an organization, you don't know what you do.
Yeah, this is true. Actually,
you have to think about what matters to you. And what really do you want to measure that makes sense?
Yeah.
So I got involved in health system redesign in Saudi Arabia, and they asked me for that section I was working for every little point. I wanted to have 3 KPIs, and I said, forget it, you don't know what you're doing. You're missing the point. You're not focusing on what you want to deliver. And they have reduced very dramatically.
If you look at the generic balanced scorecard, which has 4 perspectives, the common suggestion is that for each one, you shouldn't have more than 4 or 5 KPI. Of course, for like customer satisfaction, innovation, each one you can have more than 4, or financial perspective, you can have growth, you can have profit, a lot of things, but not more than 4 or 5 for each one. This is before using like computerized techniques and programs, but I'm not sure with nowadays because the number of KPIs are not important if you use packages. So everything is like we are using big data. So every part of all information is captured to your system. It's still, so
what
they.
That means is you measure noise. And one of the big things about AI is that you try to find a signal, but if you have only noise, you miss the signals, and the signals you identify are not the ones that are around. So to me, it really boils down to we are not thinking what we really want to achieve. We are going with technology here because it can be done, but just because it can be done doesn't mean that it needs to be meaningful outcome.
Yeah. Any other suggestion, comment? Young, did you hear? The discussion is that we shouldn't have more than 5 KPI. For example, if you want to focus on ranking of university teaching and so on, the suggestion is we should focus on less than 5 KPI.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Yes, yes.
And what do you think those KPIs should be based on your experience for ranking like?
I mean, for like sustainability, I mean, our institution used to be 100% funded by the state government because we are the state university. But things have changed. The funding percentage from the state is keep going down and down and down. And now we have about 35% comes from the state, and 65% we have to, produce. Otherwise, this institution may not exist anymore. Because,
so 5% from government, 65 from you.
Yes.
What about the 30?
Huh? No, 35% from the state government.
35.
Yeah, used to be the 100%.
Okay.
But now the state portion is going down and down and down.
Oh.
Now about 35%, and the other 65% we have to generate revenues.
Is it same for all universities, government
That's
universities?
the trend. Yes, that is the trend.
But are there still some universities in USA who get 100% fund from government?
That's for I'm not sure. I guess it depends on the state economy, but I doubt there are some universities out there still get 100%. That would be kind of miracle.
Okay, thank you so much. Any final question before we go to break?
Can I just make one comment?
Sure.
I think somebody said customers, and I also see that a trend in Canada, is that students are no longer students, they're customers, they're paying customers, and that's also concerning.
Yeah.
And
So,
I know university college president, our college president used to be just the college president. Now he's the CEO of our college.
yeah.
All of a sudden, right? He named himself and the CFO.
Yeah, customers, if you look at balance scorecard, one perspective is customer satisfaction. So whoever you are dealing with, you want to satisfy here in university students. Shop. Yeah, for university, we classify a customer as students. For supermarket, customers.
But here we don't call them customers yet.
No, we call them a student. But
yes,
that these are.
But the point you raise is so important. The words we use are determining the images we have, how we go about. And while your argument from a technical point that business regards whom they evaluate as a customer, use it in a business school in a technical sense, but you do not do a customer survey. If you look at students, you do student survey. You do not do customer surveys if you look at patients. If you do a patient survey. And you need to name it that way because the implications of calling it that are setting your mindset and focusing on what to evaluate and how to interpret the feedback you get from your evaluation.
Yes, please.
I think interesting point about the students being classified as students. I guess it's naturally involved because just now you mentioned about university collaborate with the and because now it's so easy due to globalization that most of the universities say collaborate with private institutions, higher learning institution, private. So I guess this term may just naturally evolve. Like in Singapore, I work with University of Newcastle in Australia. But I don't personally teach at a campus in Australia because they are collaborating with the higher learning university in Singapore. There's a big campus national. So this private university, they have investment from private investor come into that. So it's private higher education center. So customers naturally become students become customers from the lens of the private institution.
Yeah.
So you see that the line also just evolved.
Yeah, this is just a classification, generic first generation of balanced scorecard, which they had introduced more than 30 years ago. For perspective, one is customer satisfaction, but here could be students. And also there are some talk about second, third, and fourth generation of balanced scorecard, which we don't have time to go into that. We are just at break time. I would like to thank
everyone.
Young everyone, and we have 15 minutes break. Do you have something to say, Tamsin, before we go for break?
I just wanted to thank Professor Kwak for his great plenary session and also for, inspiring such a great discussion afterwards. So thank you all. Enjoy your coffee break and we'll see you again shortly.
Okay. Thank you.